Welcome to our latest FortiSandbox firmware version 4.2. We have lots of new features and improvement that I'm excited to share with you on behalf of the team. Before we go to the new features and improvement, let me show you our global sandbox community and describe what's inside the FortiSandbox. On February 2022, our global sandbox community cloud has tallied a total of 115,000 zero-day malware threats blocked by FortiSandbox worldwide. These are from customers for FortiSandbox who have optionally joined the community and also from our research team. Those shown here are from customers who largely contributed to the community. Based only on customers' shared login info, each FortiSandbox has blocked an average of 7 zero-day malware. A FortiSandbox in a nutshell is a device that runs a sample in an isolated VM environment. But actually, there are three high-level groupings. The pre-scan group is the initial phase after receiving the file. It mainly does several filtering. The static scan group does its pattern matching based on checksum, code sequences, and attributes, while the dynamic scan group spends more time on the virtual machine for behavioral analysis. For each submitted file, it goes through a complex series of engines and modules to provide a suspicious or clean rating. The pre-scan stage is comprised of several checks like allow, blacklist, YARA rule, scan profile configuration, followed by a static scan stage with mainly the antivirus and static AI scan. As you well know of, the antivirus is the traditional pattern matching engine, whereas the static AI engine is a step up of the antivirus engine that uses machine learning to detect malware based on collected malware attributes from millions of samples. That engine provides 20% improvement, while the cloud scan is a query to the Sandbox community cloud for any previously seen malware by the other FortiSandbox. The dynamic scan stage is comprised of VM scan, where the submitted file is processed in an isolated environment, and the PX box, short for Windows PE Emulator box for Windows files, that was first introduced in 4.0. which complements the VM scan for detecting malicious functions by only emulating the code. Now, on the firmware version 4.2, here are the main new features. Under the scan coverage and performance, the inline blocking feature provides the ability on the FortiGate to hold the file while the FortiSandbox evaluates, then release only if it is rated clean. The pipeline scan mode and rating engine service are architectural changes to improve the overall performance. This version provides 10% performance gain than the previous one. Under the zero-day malware detection, the detection of ransomware and Office macrovirus have been improved. Under the automation and usability, the scan performance web page provides granular information on the scanning abilities of the FortiSandbox. And the customizable VMs provides an ability to choose your browser and customize the content of the VM. The inline blocking is a combined feature of the FortiSandbox 4.2 and recently released FortiGate FortiOS 7.2. The FortiGate downloads the file via streaming. It essentially proxies the file. At the same time, the file is uploaded to the FortiSandbox via streaming. Once complete file is received by the FortiSandbox, it goes through the different stages to provide the rating. The pre-scan and static scan stages can handle majority of the files that only takes a few seconds. That means end user will likely not observe the additional delay. In the case that the FortiSandbox finds any active content in the file, for example, macro or executable content, then it will be subject to the dynamic scan. Depending on the nature of the file and its attribute, the scan can take a minute at least. If the FortiGate can get the rating within a minute, then it can release the file. Otherwise, it will take action based on its configuration. Note that FortiSandbox completes its scan for any submitted file. Any further download of similar file should right away get the rating. The FortiSandbox had been processing files on a standard way. Let me provide you an illustration on how it works and later provide you how the advanced process can save time, thus increasing performance. Let's have the first batch of 3 files. Each file will go to the dedicated and isolated VMs. That brings up a VM every time it is needed. That's time-consuming step. After a minute, the captured logs are sent to the rating engine, which loads the library's AI model database. That engine then provides the rating. When new files come in, the same process is repeated. VM is brought up, captured logs are used by rating engine. Now, let me illustrate the recent changes to improve the performance. The rating engine is transformed to a service module. Let's have the same first batch of 3 files. Each file will also go to a dedicated VMs. Those VMs are brought up, in which is also a time-consuming step. After a minute, the captured logs are sent to the rating engine service that is readily available and can right away provide the rating. Note here that the first and third VMs stayed, while the second VM has been brought down since it had a suspicious rating. In terms of detection improvement, we have the following developed in version 4.2 to make sure that your FortiSandbox is keeping up with the game. The engine logical rules on tracking the behavior of malware memory usage and file system have been improved, thus increasing ransomware detection of CryptoLocker, TeslaCrypt, NotPetya, and several others. Next, log tracking enhancement for ransomware that are evading detection due to blue screen of death, encrypting this, and disconnecting to the network. And also, we now provide full Office 64 support for capturing all behavioral details like downloaded files and embedded URLs. To further improve the healthiness of your FortiSandbox, the Scan Performance webpage is our latest addition to the GUI. It provides several charts on submitted file count and how many ended up in the VM, also processing and pending time. These charts track historical average usages and also show peak usages. Those can aid on reviewing current capacity and resource usages. And last but not the least is the customizable VMs. On the VM settings page, you now have an option to configure the internet browser that best represents your end-user environment. The Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, and Microsoft Edge are all supported. The configured browser becomes the default to be used during dynamic scan. Also, for FortiSandbox with custom VM deployment, you can now modify the uploaded VM via FortiSandbox. You can directly add application, documents, files, or configure Windows settings. That saves the overhead of modifying offline and re-uploading the VM. For more information on the features and its usages, and also for the rest of the features, visit our documentation site for the admin guide and release notes. Appreciate your time and happy sandboxing.